So using images in Qt is actually quite simple. There's two ways of doing it, which is one is like through a QLabel, and the other way is through a QGraphics view. The graphics view just gives you way more control over the image, but if you're just wanting to display an image, not really think too much about it, you can use a QLabel. Both ways require you to use a QResource file though, which I have not seen too many people cover. It's the idea of just a file path that lets you store all external files, images, PNGs, JPEGs, audio files, MP4 files, and use them really easily inside of your project. And then when you package and export your project, it just sort of handles, it just sort of takes care of all those files. So what you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to find where your files are. So my files are over here. And next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open your project folder. You're just going to add a new folder. I'm going to call it images. And then you're just going to want to drag and drop your PNG file into there. So our PNG file is now inside of a folder in our project folder. Makes it easier to use. So next thing you're going to want to do is go to the project, add new, Qt resource. Just going to call it images, or actually it's better to just call it resources. Click next, finish, okay. And this is one of our resource files. The way you can sort of section things off here now is using prefixes. For example, you want a prefix for images, right? But then say you also have audio files that you want to use in your project. You can just add prefix again and just call it audio. And there you go. You now have two different prefixes. Just makes it just makes things more organized in your project. I'm going to remove this audio one, just hitting the remove button because I don't need it. Now to add files to the prefix, you just hit the add files button, go to the folder with your image, click on the image, and now it's been added to our project as a Qt resource. Just hit the image again under the prefix, right click, copy resource paths to clipboard. Next thing you're going to want to do is you want to head over to your main window UI, get a label, and I'm just going to scale it really large for now. Just remove the text. And remember the name, I'm just going to leave this as label, but if you've named it something else, then just remember that. Go into mainwindow.cpp. Right under the setup UI, you're just going to want to do, actually, sorry. Before we do anything, the object we're going to be using to display our images is called a QPixMap. If you know what that is, that's great. If you don't know, in layman's terms, the QPixMap is just a Qt object that displays images. Its only purpose is really displaying files and image files for the most part. You can't edit the image sort of in your application with it. If you wanted to do that, you'd use a QImage. But again, we just want to do simple like image displays. So the first thing we're going to do is in our include files, we're going to include QPixMap. There we go. Now we can do UI label, which is my QLabel, set pixmap, and I'm just going to create a pixmap inside of this. So I'm just going to do pixmap, sorry, case sensitive. And this needs a sort of file path, which we have. We're just going to copy paste our resource path, images, apple.png, and there you go. Now if we hit run, there we go. Our image has been displayed. However, as you've noticed, it's probably easier to actually show you. If I scale this down and then I run the project, it got clipped. That's because our QLabel can't really control the image. It's just going to use the QPixMap is just going to use the image's like default size. So if you want to scale it down to how large your label is, what you want to do is you just want to do label set scaled contents true. So now if we hit run, our image has been scaled down to our label. Sweet. It's going to do, it's going to show like this. There you go, boom. So yeah, this is a pretty simple and easy way to display images in your Qt project. But again, there's a few ways of doing it. This is like the most basic, easy way to do it. Say you want to be able to draw on this image. Suppose maybe you're doing like a drawing application or something. Then you'd want to use a QImage because that gives you the ability to edit like pixels. Um, and then overall, if you're wanting to do anything with images, I think the best way of going about it is the Q graphics view, which I might cover in a future video, maybe. I've used it before, but I'd have to refresh my memory again. But yeah, I remember it's pretty intuitive and it gives you a lot of control over your images. So that is a pretty simple tutorial on how to use images in Qt. Thanks for watching.